Welcome to US Immigrant Journey, Opportunities and Challenges.
Hello and welcome to US Immigrant Journey, Opportunities and Challenges with attorney Edwin Fogam. With over 25 years of experience in immigration and various areas of the law, Edwin brings a wealth of knowledge and a global perspective to his practice. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is the impact of family-based visas on businesses hiring foreign workers, opportunities and challenges. Edwin, great to see you again.
Hey, great to see you, Kevin.
So how does family-based immigration intersect with the employment-based immigration process for foreign nationals who wish to are already working in the U.S.?
There are a couple of ways these can intersect. First of all, when a foreign national is already working in the United States, that foreign national may need to have their family members join them here in the United States. And that will bring in possibly applying for the family members, and that will bring in a family aspect of immigration. Also, there are some family members in the United States who may decide to have their other members work here in the United States on another visa category if they have not already filed for the family members who are living in the United States. So definitely there are quite a number of intersections in these scenarios.
And in your experience, how does having family members involved in the immigration process affect an employee's decision to stay or leave the U.S. for work?
It's very important because many times the employee will work better and if the family members of the employee are not here in the United States, definitely that will affect their employment as far as productivity is concerned. And also many times it is beneficial to the employer to have the family members of that employee here, because then employees will not be filing for other visa categories or trying to go back and come in other visa categories. So yes, it's very important that the employee have their family members here, or there is a potential that they can have those members follow to join them in the United States.
Can their family members join them in the U.S. under a family-based visa while the worker is here on an employment-based visa, or how does that process work?
Yes, you could do that. It will depend on a couple of things. Now, if the family member is here only on an employment-based visa and that person is not yet a U.S. citizen, just a permanent resident, probably they could file for their family members. That has a little bit of waiting time. So that family member will not be able to come in immediately under a family-based petition as such. But there are various non-immigrant categories where the family members can actually have their family. The employee can actually have their family members come in. For example, H-1B, H-4s, their family members can come in as non-immigrants, H-4 category, L visas, and others, even O categories. So those are non-immigrant visas, and the family member will come in and sometimes eligible to work as a non-immigrant, not as a permanent resident.
Okay. How do you keep all this straight? It's so confusing.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes there are wrinkles that you have to try to see how they work, how they come in.
Yeah, you have to kind of maneuver things around, huh?
Yeah.
Are there any advantages or challenges for businesses when hiring foreign workers who also have family members in the U.S. on family-based visas?
Yes, a number of situations that can come up in this case. It will depend also on the status of the family members who are in the U.S. In some cases, if those family members are in the United States on valid non-immigrant status, then the transition can be smooth. But if, for example, they've been out of status, it may be a challenge for the employee to petition for them to be legal in the United States. So sometimes, some situations, they may have to go back to their countries before coming into the United States. It will really depend on the situation.
Okay, yeah, I feel like that happens a lot, right? It depends on the situation.
Yes.
Common thing to be said in this situation. So what are the implications for a company when an employee's family-based immigration case is delayed or even denied?
Oh yeah, that can be there. That can be a very difficult situation in many scenarios. First, it affects the employer. I mean, if the employer was banking on that and or if the employee had actually started working and this was an extension, that can affect the employer's business. Now, it also affects the employee, of course. For in many cases, if the family members were here on non-immigrant visas and those visas are no longer available, then it will definitely have some serious family implications. Now, H-1Bs, for example, you have 6 years. After the 6 years, if the employer has not moved to have the non-immigrant H-1B worker become a permanent resident, then some serious discussions have to take place and various strategies have to be used. Otherwise, the H-1B non-immigrant has to leave the United States along with possibly family members who were on H-4s. And this applied to other non-immigrant visa situations as well.
Did you say H-4?
Yeah, H-4 is for family members of H-1B. They come in as non-immigrants, but they have an H-4 visa. Under
H-4 visa, okay.
Employee who got the H-1B.
I know we'll get a little off track here, but for the H-4, is that pretty easy to get if your family member has the H-1B?
Yes, you just have to prove the relationship, and presumably the person doesn't have any immigration problems or history. Right.
Yeah. So it's not like you've got to look at the person still. They don't get in automatically. They could still be denied if they've had problems in the past.
Yes, that happens in immigration a lot, right?
Does it really? Yeah.
In the past comes to affect the current application. So that's something to really always be watchful for. Yeah,
I would imagine too, if someone gets hired on or brought over on an H-1B, for some reason they can't bring their spouse or their kids, or for whatever reason, if they can't bring someone, that could affect whether they want to come here too.
Yes, and that could affect their jobs while they're working. We've had cases where H-1Bs go back because of situations like that. They decide not to do their whole 6 years, especially in tech and those who have opportunities elsewhere.
Do family-based visa categories have an impact on the ability of a business to sponsor foreign employees for work visas?
Yes, it will. It could really be more beneficial to have the employee sponsor their family members if they qualify, if they are already citizens or permanent residents. Because employment-based visas, as you know, especially permanent employment-based visas, can take quite some time. Labor certification process, the green card process. But for a foreign national who has already become a permanent resident and becomes a citizen, they could easily bring their family members under the family-based immediate relatives petition.
Okay, well that's good. That's helpful. Yeah. I would imagine that employers can help coordinate the process and help the process along by to get these people over. Is that something that they generally are able to help with?
You mean the employment-based or the family-based? It depends.
Can they help? Yeah. Can they help with family-based visas if they're sponsoring an employee for a work visa?
Well, it will really depend on what they are sponsoring for. If the work visa is a non-immigrant work visa, like O, L, H, and so on, of course, the employees, the employer is very, very involved in that. Proof that the employee is already in this non-immigrant category will be relevant and necessary. So yes, the employer, very important part in that. Now, for permanent residencies, of course, the employee will have to become a permanent resident first and then actually file for their family members. Yeah,
I mean, it'd be in the best interest of if the employer wants the employee, it's in their best interest for the employee's family to get here too then.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they're going to help that process any way they can, I would imagine.
Right.
How can employers help foreign employees navigate the family-based and employment-based visa systems? Like how can they assist in the process specifically?
Well, for first, regarding the employment-based visas, the employer if the employer is going to be hiring the foreign national, either as a non-immigrant or as an immigrant, the employer is very, very involved because they have to present the necessary documentation. They have to provide job descriptions, filing process, and they have to actually work generally with somebody who knows what they are doing, like an attorney. Now, for family-based visas, the employer can support an employee who is filing on one of the family-based categories right? If it is a permanent permanent residency, the employer can support that, as opposed to the non-immigrant visas categories where the family is following to join the employee who is already working with the employer as a non-immigrant. So I know this can sound a little confusing when we talk about non-immigrant.
Just a little.
It's not as confusing as it sounds, frankly.
Okay. And so when you're involved, how do you help facilitate the process? What are you able to do as an immigration attorney to help this process along?
What we do a lot. First of all, we do a lot of screening, right? We screen the employer, we screen the employee. We do a lot of documentary analysis. We look at their qualifications, the evaluations. We look at the immigration history, the possible implications if there were any things therein. And immigration generally requires quite some strategic approaches, looking both back and forward. It's quite a holistic approach, but it's very important to approach it that way.
Do people try to do this on their own? And
many times, as you can imagine.
Yeah, and it's do they struggle?
Yeah, immigration is one of the areas where, unfortunately, people tend to think they can do many things themselves, but it has a deceptive look, as if it is an easy area. But they tend to forget that there are about 4 or 5 different government agencies that are involved in immigration. And if you don't see how these agencies interplay, you can easily make a very serious mistake.
Yeah. Do you get hired by the employers as well a lot of times?
Yes, we get hired mostly by employers.
Oh, mostly by employers over the employees. Okay, that's interesting. All right.
Sometimes employees encourage our being hired, right? Or they recommend us to their employers. But many of the visa categories, there are provisions or requirements that would not allow the employee to pay certain fees or do certain things. And we have to be mindful of that.
You know, when you're working with employers, when you get hired by an employer, is a family-based visa something that they inquire about often, or are they more looking for work-based visas?
Employers look for mostly work-based visas. Most employers, non-immigrant visas, as well as trying to get permanent, both skilled and unskilled workers, agricultural workers, so on, yes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they tried to navigate that with you as well, trying to get employees, family members over here trying to facilitate it or whatnot. But it sounds like mostly they're just worried about the work part.
Yes, but even if they are trying to facilitate that, that will be under the non-immigrant visas that they have already filed for their employees, right? Like for and other L visas and so on, where the spouses or the children could follow to join the non-immigrant.
Well, as someone who's talked to you a bit now, I think everybody should just hire an attorney, because it sounds really complicated and not something to do on your own.
Well, I think it's important. I think it's important to have somebody, even if it's not an attorney, have somebody who knows what they're doing or who understands the system and can help you navigate that.
Yeah, especially with all the changes with new administrations and things like that.
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on US Immigrant Journey, Opportunities and Challenges with attorney Edwin Fogam. To connect with Edwin and his team, head to fogamlaw.com, and please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. Edwin, it's always so great chatting with you. Thanks so much for the insight.
Thank you again, Kevin. See you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.